Hello, this is the MC Show. I'm your host, Mikhail, and we are here with Minnesota Governor candidate Brad Kohler. Please introduce yourself to people who may not know you.
Hey, thanks for joining us. My name is Brad Kohler. I'm a former UFC fighter, inventor, author, and businessman running for governor of Minnesota. Here we are.
Why did you choose to run for governor?
I saw a lot of problems in our leadership here in Minnesota, as the world has also seen. And as a businessman and an operations kind of guy, I like to solve problems, and that's why I put on my website the solutions for Minnesota and how to save us and create wealth and a beautiful future for generations to come on my website at bradkohler.com.
What issues did you see in our leadership?
Well, we had some back in 2020 when COVID hit. I just saw that surrounding states were wide open and we were shut down. We were then forced to have curfews. The George Floyd riots that were, I believe, mishandled. I think that what happened was a very unfortunate situation, but I think that we still should have shown some leadership to keep people in control and not burn down buildings as a way of trying to prove a point that absolutely did nothing. It did nothing. Nothing's happened from it. That it's a horrible situation that even got worse. So that being said, it affected a lot of businesses, including mine. While I was shut down twice, it cost me almost over 6 months of shutdowns here in Minnesota. That cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now you see the fraud. Now you see the illegals coming in. There's just a lot of poor decision being made. So, and I'm big on the immigration. I'm with all the minority communities, and I'm big on immigration. But like the people before them that came here legally, I think that we have to continue to have that standard of laws here in America. So that's, again, seeing all that, knowing that I'm a fighter and I get along with both sides. I get along with most people. I don't have a whole lot of haters out there that want to attack me because I don't talk bad about the other candidates. I don't go out there and talk about, our current leadership and pointing the finger at them. I just think that we could do better. And that's what I want to do, just do better.
Who should be held accountable for those issues that you see in Minnesota?
Well, let's look at this in a different analogy. If this state of Minnesota was a publicly traded company, which it is, and the leadership lost billions of dollars, should we give them a raise and a promotion? Should we keep that management staff that has failed us for the past 9 years? And again, it's not that I think that they're bad people by anything, but they just did a bad job. And so things have not gotten better in 9 years, and we keep electing the same people. So to me, that's like the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and thinking we're going to get a different result. Now, I firmly believe, because I'm running independent, that both parties are firmly broken. And within the party, they're fighting on both sides, and then they fight each other. So without that independent in the middle, the voice of reason to actually be there for the people, we're going to continue to lose because these candidates are party-driven. They're PAC and party-driven. I come with no party, and I come with no PAC money. I'm for the people of Minnesota, and all the people of Minnesota.
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially with the rise of APAC and especially in Congress. They're really controlled by money. That's really what's happening. Especially Amy Klobuchar, Angie Craig. They're all really funded by APAC and various other PACs. Angie
The other
Craig,
side too. Yeah.
Yeah, Republicans too.
Yeah.
Especially in Congress, like
Sorry.
Ted Cruz.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Ted Cruz, our current president too. So, yeah, I do see a lot of those issues. In your first day in office, are there any orders you're going to sign?
Yeah, I think the first thing we got to do is secure our cities, our communities, and our borders. We need to do a massive hiring of police officers, EMTs, and firefighters that are going to help keep our streets and communities safer. We got to protect our borders, and we have the human trafficking still going. We're still number 3 in the country, and that hasn't changed in 8 years. And they know about it; they just won't do nothing about it. That's going to change. The fentanyl coming in also hasn't changed. We need to make sure that we're vigilant about these things to make sure that we can protect our young people coming up to in the ranks and in the next generations. And then also there's a lot of things that need to be done. We have men and women's sports that's it's affecting Title IX, which needs to stop.
Yeah, that's a big issue.
Yeah, we've got to become a non-sanctuary state and county again. The one of the candidates just came out with what is it for the immigration? He wanted to oh geez, I just slipped my tongue, but Lindell.
Oh, Mike Lindell, yeah.
Yeah, he wants to basically keep it a sanctuary for the illegals here, and I'm sorry, we can't. It's costing us too much. We should have known, and we can't continue to do that. Although they said they're going to stop it, I certainly will stop that. There's a lot of things on day one, but frankly, what I want to do is I want to meet with the team. The goal is to win first. And then I want to work with both sides, walking in there and say, okay, here's what we got to do together. And I want to bring the leaders of all communities together to unite Minnesota so we collectively fix this state. This is too much for one man. It's too much for one party. It's got to be a collective thing that a lot of people kick in to help to do. And again, going independent, I went independent as a write-in ballot. That means you have to actually write my name in. So this is going to be a lot of work and education for people to understand that I'm not going to be on the ballot. It's going to say Republican, Democrat, and it says other. You have to write my name in. And I have been very transparent, going to all 87 counties, over 600 meet and greets last year. And this year, I've already done over 600 meet and greets. And educating the people on who I am and the solutions that I bring to the table. And again, what we got to do is change the culture of Minnesota. And right now, people are very angry with our taxes and the crime. So and then also, we will lower taxes. Property taxes are going to drop 25%. Income taxes 20%. And we're going to have the car tabs day one drop to $99 or less for your cars. I mean, it's outrageous how we pay for a car that depreciates, and we're paying more on car tabs to keep it on the road. It's ridiculous on how they kind of do everything backwards. And I believe it's because they're not trained. They're not business people. They don't forecast properly, otherwise we wouldn't have budgetary problems. We went from an $18 billion surplus in 2020 to now an $8 billion deficit. And of course, all the fraud. How do you know there's fraud going on and yet it keeps going like a water and they don't stop it? Why? Because they don't know what they're doing. And if they do know what they're doing, then they're guilty. So they can claim ignorance or stupidity. Which one do they want to claim? Because either way, they got to be held accountable. And so that being said, we're going to have a forensic auditing going on for every candidate, to find out where that money went. And we're going to attach it to whatever person signed to release that. They will be held accountable. That's American taxpayer money. And I want to get that money back for them.
Yeah, I do think audits for each and every politician and candidate is a really good idea, especially in our current time with all this fraud ramping up. How will you crack down on that fraud?
You can talk about safety nets and guardrails all day long. But what it is it really is about training people to do their job the right way and making sure that the person that has the highest responsibility, takes responsibility for that. So you've got to check. I've got to have a chief of staff and then some people who double check me, double check them, It's got to go through so many hands. It's almost impossible to commit fraud in Minnesota anymore. And that's what's got to happen. They've made it too easy for people from a third world country to come over here and outsmart us. And I don't believe they did it alone. So that being said, we are going to dive in deep. And my new doge that I'm creating will be a lot of young, ambitious college kids from the best colleges in Minnesota that are going to help us with this. And if they want to get their college tuition taken down, they're going to join this doge team, be part of this government project, and have a future here in Minnesota saving and protecting the people of Minnesota and the United States by making sure no federal or state money is misused.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty good plan. So, you you're a big advocate for mining in the Iron Range, correct?
It's what's going to save this state. Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
are. Yeah,
if you do start mining in the
good.
Iron Range, what are you going to do with all the money generated?
Well, I tell you what. Once we're going to start mining almost immediately, it's going to create 100,000 new jobs. Now we currently have a $66 billion biannual budget. That's $33 billion a year. By the hiring of these 100,000 people to mine in our first year alone, we'll bring in $70 billion in tax revenue in our first year alone. That's over our 2-year biannual. This gives us money for, we got to deregulate the farming and help farmers farm. We got to let them do their job. We got to get rid of these data centers and use those areas for vertical farming, so we have year-round farming and farmers are making money year-round. We need to make sure that police, peace officers, nurses, and our education have the best tools, and it takes money to do that. Now, you can keep raising taxpayer money all you want, but that's our only revenue stream to control how we spend money. This is a revenue stream that helps us for years to come, changing the direction and the generational wealth in Minnesota. Now, if you go to my website, you also see expanding Hibbing Airport, and creating a National Guard base there and helping build cities around that. Again, creating more opportunities, more jobs. We need vocational training for these kids that come out of high school. That we need more plumbers, electricians, welders. We need mechanics. We're going to need all this stuff because we have about half the amount of people in Minnesota that we need right now to sustain a low tax income bracket. So right now, in the last 18 months, 41,000 people fled Minnesota. That's $28 billion in tax revenue. That's why our taxes are being raised, because we're losing our fishing pond. We have less fish in our pond. We need to create more fish here by, number one, creating jobs so people come here. So my zero business taxes, they'll be grandfathered in. They'll never have business taxes in Minnesota again. And I'll tell you what, all I'm doing is franchising these ideas from other states that are successful with these. You know, you talk about the mines in Minnesota, okay? Well, how about the oil in Alaska? People get dividends off that mine. So if you've been here prior to 2021, which is when the big, illegals came in here, okay? That big massive run. So
Yeah,
if
during
you've
Biden.
been a resident, yeah. So if you've been here prior to 2021, you will get about a $700 dividend from that mine. Now, to me, I think that helps a lot of people. I'll be attacking Big Pharma. They will no longer be allowed to put commercials on TV convincing us we're sick. I think there's healthier ways and more affordable ways to treat our people, and I'm going to look out for the people. These hospitals, these doctors that charge $400 for 2 aspirins, that's going to stop. These people, these businesses that let your car get broken down and don't honor warranties, that's going to stop. We have got to have someone in there that looks out for the people of Minnesota. And I'll tell you what, I will be the wall that these other people think they can keep screwing us. They'll be banging their head against that wall. It will stop.
Yeah. What do you have to say to people who are worried about environmental concerns from mining in the Iron
Yeah.
Range?
Yeah, it's I'm very concerned about it. And so we are going to right away form a commission and portion of that money going into an account that we can monitor the environment, the waters, the land, everything. So right away we can catch it. And again, we've got to be accountable for things we're going to be doing. Now I understand copper and the water, things like that. We've got to catch that quick. So in order to do that, and we know there's safe ways to mine, but we also got to make sure that we don't screw it up. We have accountability is a good word in my vocabulary. It helps us from falling backwards. So to have a commission formed right away to protect our environment is my first step. Can you
Yeah,
hear me okay?
I think that
Okay.
is, yeah, I think that's really needed because there's a lot of people worried about the environment and all that around mining the Iron Range, and especially with the pipelines.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, and how how are you going to get people to come to Minnesota with these jobs?
Well, again, offering opportunities like this that I mean, a good mining job will pay you 80 to $100,000 a year. When all of a sudden there's 100,000 of these jobs opening, what do you think is going to happen? Now, I tell you what, I I do love my immigrants, and I do want to open that up again. But I want to offer this to American people that want to come here, and in the first 90 days, I want to make sure we offer American jobs. And I mean, look, I don't care if you're American Latino, American Vietnamese, Americans. The immigrants coming here on visas will have to wait for those jobs. H-1 visas will also be a thing in the past. It is hurting us. We're losing American jobs. We have HB1 visas coming here. The people are getting paid. They're getting free housing, free health insurance. They're sending that money back home. They're not stimulating our economy. That's got to stop. And politicians that back HB1 visas, I will force them out of office. We have to have a Minnesota first.
Yeah, I do believe we have a really broken immigration system in the United States. So, how will you fix that issue, that illegal immigration? How will you make sure it just stops in Minnesota?
Well, we gotta make sure we're very clear about this. I mean, we're not going to be a sanctuary state, county, no more. And I tell you, you will be deported. And I want to make sure that when elected on November 3rd, I make a very clear announcement that if your paperwork is not in by the time I am sworn in, you will be deported. And I'm giving you the opportunity. It will go on every language, making sure they clearly understand that if you're here at that date, while I'm building my police force and using our National Guard to protect our streets and borders, I'll tell you what, if you're caught as an illegal here, you will not be allowed back in this country. You will be deemed an enemy of the state, and you will be deported.
What do you have to say to the people who have backlash towards that? Because I remember in the winter time when Immigration Customs Enforcement was in Minnesota, there was lots of protests. There was pretty much riots happening.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about that? Because that was a really big problem.
Well, you know what? I love people. I really love helping people. And, my pastors that I go to seven churches will tell you, I will volunteer and help any day of the week for any community. I'm involved with the Vietnamese, the Lao, the Hmong, the Cambodian, the black community, the Latino. All of them, I have no problem going down and helping them. But when it comes to America, people come here to be an American. Now, you can go to France, you don't become French. You can go to Germany, you don't become a German. You can go to Japan, you don't become Japanese. But when you come to America, you have a chance to be an American. That means you have to follow our laws, and I will uphold them. That is what you're electing me to do. As you can see, our people were not protected during this fraud, nor this illegal immigration going on, because people were hurt. Money was taken. Taxpayers were paying for things we shouldn't be paying for. And we've got to have leadership that actually looks out for us and protects us from that. We don't have that right now. And that culture needs to change.
Yeah, yeah. I just remember all that backlash that happened. It was really bad. Yeah,
Well, I gotta tell you, Micah, you know, when you have two leaders, whether it's your president or your governor, puffing each other's chest
yeah,
out, who loses? The people lose. When you have leadership that says, fight for your neighbors, well, that was ignorant. That was so stupid because why weren't they down there fighting too? Nope, they're having sushi and cocktails while people are going down there because they told them to. I'm going to tell you what I would do. I'll say, here's what's going on. ICE is coming to town. I'm going to be down there with our law enforcement. I want to make sure our people are protected. They're going to come in, they're going to get the criminals, and they're going to leave. If you come down there and interfere with law enforcement doing their job, you're interfering with me, and you will be arrested. I will protect the state of Minnesota and its people. I will be down there elbow to elbow with our officers, making sure our people are safe. You don't have to come down. And again, a couple of deaths could have been prevented if we had leadership that did something like that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and yeah, I was in support of those ICE raids because under Biden, the border was wide open. How many illegals was it? Was it
Yeah.
like 16 mil that came in?
Yeah. Over
Just about?
20,000
Yeah.
alone here in Minnesota. We're getting free health care, and it was costing us $1 billion. $1 billion.
Yeah, we don't get much benefit from illegal immigration, and I don't know why people don't seem to understand that. So, what what do you think is a bigger issue? The crime and the illegal immigration? Do you think they're one and one? Do you think illegal immigration does cause the crime?
Well, I think a crime is a crime, whether you're here illegal or committing a crime. I think that, again, we have standards in Minnesota or in America that Minnesota has slacked upon. And because of that, we've become a laughing stock. And I don't know about you, but I'm not a laughing stock. I'm going to take this very serious and show the proud people here in Minnesota what we and bring us back to the standard we're used to. I mean, we used to be number one and number two in every category, whether it was fitness, whether it's education, whether it's economy. We used to be such a great state. And our leadership, and who else do you blame? You're going to blame the homeless guy on the corner? Because he had no power to do that. I mean, you can't blame people who are not in power and position to do that. The people that have done, and again, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. So what does that tell you? I mean, it hasn't got better, not even 5% better in 9 years. It's got 300% worse. And who do you blame? I'm the one willing to stand up and take ownership of every little step to make sure that, yep, you know what, if I screw up, I'm going to say, you know what, we caught this, we caught it quick, we redirected, we fixed it, and we're back on track. I have no problem saying that. But when you try to hide the truth from the people of Minnesota that are counting on you to look out for them, I'm sorry, you're failing.
Yeah. So, last question before we go. Um, what do you have to say to people who are undecided in this governor's race and
You
undecided who
know,
they're going to vote for?
it's, you know what, a lot of people are. And again, I'm going to say don't vote. I'm going to say think outside the box. Because if you're tired and you're questioning yourself, maybe you have to think about, if you want to make Minnesota right, you have to write it in. And that's my name. I made this so it's not easy. I made it so we are going to stand together as Minnesota people and make a choice. And you have to write my name in. You're going to say no to our politicians who have failed us. You're going to say no to the parties that fight each other, that hurt us. And you're going to say yes to a person who cares about the people of Minnesota. I will bring the leaders of the communities together, unite Minnesota for a great future. That's a promise.
Yeah,
We
actually,
have
the
to
last
we have to
question.
write in my name. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Do you think voter fraud is an issue?
You know, it's a really tough question because I think it is, and I think, you know, I think we get clickbaited to think maybe it's worse than what it really is. But when it comes to, we have dead people on voter rolls, I think we have a problem. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
why
saw
would
online
you? I mean, I go by the
some
facts.
123. Yeah,
How much?
some 123-year-old who's been dead for a while now was registered to
Yeah.
vote. I think it's crazy.
Well, we actually have about 14,000 dead people that are in the voter roll, and that right there can turn an election. So, you know, um, I like the fact that felons can vote. I like that being a former felon myself that had, uh, when I was an athlete, I'd made some dumb decisions, and but that's almost 3 decades ago, and but it's who you are today that people need to understand. I mean, if you're still an idiot, you're still an idiot. I mean, you know what they say: if you you know don't realize you're an idiot when you're young, you're still an idiot, right? But I made my changes. I owned my problems. I wrote a book about it. It's on my website, Brad Kohler. Actually, it's on Kindle. It's called
Yeah,
"Built for
you did
This" by
send me
Brad Kohler.
you
Yeah.
did send me two of your books. They're really
Okay.
inspirational.
Thank you. And so I wrote the book "Built for This" so people can get to know who I was. So you talk about transparency and honesty, and yeah, it's I've been through it all. I've been through the welfare system, the medical system, and certainly I don't. I'm not a person that's money motivated. I'm accolade driven. I want to accomplish many great things, and it's not just for me. It's for the people of Minnesota. So when it comes to all that stuff, I think that what we need to do is have a person there that listens, that is accessible. I respond to everybody, and I think that's important. And I'm just a regular guy that loves helping people, and I have a great team behind me. We have over 220 captains statewide helping promote me around the state, and I got some really smart people behind my campaign. So, yeah.
All right, yeah, that was the last question. Thank you for your time, Brad.
Man, you have a blessed night. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you
And
too.
check
God
me out
bless.
at bradkohler.com.
Yeah,
Thank
I'll
you.
link it below. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye-bye.